Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the NaU Media Circus, where we spotlight Christian culture with commentary from the Peanut Gallery. I'm your ringmaster and host, Rock Blackwell. And with me today as co-host is the 1986 Time Magazine Baby of the Year, the Mrs. Sharon Blackwell. Hey, Sharon.
Hello.
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm good. That's quite the award.
Hey.
I don't know. Was I really on Time Magazine? Was I?
You don't have the clippings?
No.
Yeah, you should.
So I was on the cover apparently. Mom, Dad, I guess you need to pull that out of the box.
Yeah, she got that. By the way, just so you guys know, totally irrelevant to what we're talking about, but this just came to my mind, and I thought you should know. We got the best cherries from the from the grocery this week. Those cherries are as big as a plum. Yeah, they are ridiculously good. I just want to share that with you.
I got tricked. A lady came up to me at the store
Yeah.
and was like, "Hey, do you want to try this?" And so I tried it, and it was really good. And she just kept telling me about how good they were, and I was like, "Okay, I'll go buy some."
Yeah, so
They're so expensive.
those cherries are fire. All right, well, on today's show, we're going to be reviewing, not previewing, we did that last episode, we're going to be reviewing the K-Love Fan Awards that happened this past Sunday down at the Grand Ole Opry. We're going to take a spin on the carousel, we're going to visit the fun house, same as last time, but as always, we start under the big top, which are our top stories. So, Sharon, what's under the big top?
The K-Love Fan Awards aired this past Sunday from the Grand Ole Opry with Kirk Cameron and Elizabeth Hasselbeck as hosts. From skits to presentations, from videos to performances, the night was full of activity. Rock, what stood out to you overall, and what were some of the best moments of the night?
Well, I think one of the things that stood out to me overall definitely was that we had mentioned that King and Country were in three or like four categories,
Yeah.
and they actually took three out of the four categories. I kind of figured there'd be a little bit more diversity than that. I thought Chris Tomlin might have more, but whatever it was, this was King for King of Country's year. So that was that. They had plenty of skits. Some were funny. The one with Matthew West was pretty funny, but it had the unfortunate luck of coming after the Not So Newlywed Game skit, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, which was also funny but entirely too long. So that even though that was one of the positives, that was also one of the negatives of the show, and I'm sure that they know that, and they'll work on that next year as well. But for me, one of the best things was two of the acceptance speeches. One, what came early in the show, and I was like, wow, that's probably going to be my best acceptance speech, was by Lisa Turkhurst when she won for the category that she was in for Best Book.
Really good.
What she said was so encouraging. She was, to people out there who don't think they have a book in them, if you got a book in you or you think you do, you've had 25 people tell you no, you still can do it, and she was giving a testimony to that. And I thought that was great. And that was the best until Benjamin Watson got up there, man.
Right.
And his acceptance speech just blew me away with how he focused on the Lord and how he brought everybody in the room. I mean, there was a standing ovation for him after his speech. So those were the things that stood out to me. But for you, Sharon, I would just ask also, what were some of the best moments of the evening and what things stood out to you?
Yeah, I would completely agree with what you said, especially about the Benjamin Watson speech. Like I said in our preview, I had no idea who he was. I did pick him to win, so yay me, I got a point there.
We'll talk about that. how many points we got for our picks.
But I was really impressed, and of course it's a fan awards show, and so he's gonna have a good speech prepared and everything like that. But other than that, I absolutely loved. They did previews for two songs.
Two songs, yeah, two songs.
Two song previews
and two movies.
And two movies, but for the two song previews, I'm a huge Plum fan. I saw her in concert fairly recently, and her story is just amazing. There's this desperation in her voice that I absolutely love, and she's been through a lot in her life, and she has struggles that some things I don't even struggle with, but I can still connect with her, which is one of the reasons why I love her. But they previewed, she has a new album coming out called Exhale. Exhale,
yeah.
Okay. And she has a song called Exhale, and so they previewed that, and it was an amazing song. They did the same thing with Toby Mac, and then they also had the previews for the movies, some movies coming out, and I'm just thoroughly impressed with these Christian movies that are coming out. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, some of those Christian movies, they weren't very regular, and they were kind of hokey.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that was it's kind of disappointing as a Christian, and trying to share the word to people in a media type of way.
Mm.
So I really like that, and I hope you guys can start to check out some of these previews to new movies coming out, because they're like real movies, which sounds bad, but
yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Like, and to piggyback on that, one of my favorite things, and I wanted to mention this, so I'm glad that you brought it up, was the preview of the movie Captive.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know what it is, I had never heard of this movie that was coming. It's based on a true story. There's a young lady who was down in, I want to say Alabama or Atlanta. I don't remember which one she said. But there was a guy who escaped from the courthouse where he was. He killed the judge, escaped from the courthouse, kidnapped her, or held her prisoner, held her captive in her own home for 7 hours. And she said the reason that she was able to get through it is because she's a Christian. She had read the book Purpose Driven Life and gotten a purpose in her life in conjunction with the scriptures from that.
Yeah.
And the story is about that. Well, that story is awesome on its face, but also then the trailer, or at least the clip that they showed to us, was intense. I was like, I'm in. You got me. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Other than that, I think that was it. Everything you said was spot on, and I really liked the not so newlyweds thing. That was a lot of fun, though it ran long. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. The next on our show is the carousel, and here we spin through topics all at once. So, Rock, let's take a ride.
All right. As previously mentioned, there was a lot going on at the K-Love Fan Awards, but the backbone of the show are the winners of the several categories. And the winners were, for Male Artist of the Year, Chris Tomlin. Female Artist of the Year, Francesca Battistelli. For Group Duo of the Year, for King and Country. Best Live Show, for King and Country. Song of the Year, Newsboys. Artist of the Year, for King and Country. Worship Song of the Year, Lauren Daigle. Film TV Impact, AD, The Bible Continues. Book Impact, The Best Yes, by Lisa Turkhurst. Sports Impact, for Off the Field of Play, Benjamin Watson. An Appearance on a Can, Big Daddy Weave. Sharon, any surprises on the winners, and how did you fare on your picks?
I'm very surprised.
Okay.
And here's why.
All right.
I only got 3 wins. What the heck?
Okay.
I wanted certain people to win, and they didn't win, which doesn't necessarily surprise me. There's all these fans out here, and they just don't like who I like, which is their fault, not mine. But this is kind of funny, completely guessed on the book and on the Sports Impact, and those were two of the three that I got. Right. Though it doesn't surprise me. I did and the book is kind of questionable, because I said The Best Yes by Lisa Turkhurst, but then I ended up agreeing with you about whatever the cost.
I'll give you 4.
By the Band of Brothers. No, that was one that counted. I counted.
Oh, you counted that?
Yes. because not only is that what I said, because she has this Proverbs 31 ministry, as Rock said earlier. She had an amazing speech, which means this is kind of who she is. Mm-hmm. She has this passion and this purpose in life, and she wants to share it with everyone. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that she won, which is why I originally said that, even though I switched. And just so you know, I did vote for her. So that's good.
There goes.
The one that I was confident about was AD, The Bible Continues, which was no surprise to me at all.
Yeah, so
I was proud of that. Even though I got 3, I did win though.
She did win. Speaking of winning.
Yeah, how did you do? What did you think?
Well, She says she won with 3, so
Yeah.
that lets you know I at most got 2, which is what I got out of all the categories. I only
But I
got
still
2.
won.
She won. She beat
Just
me.
write that down, everyone.
In this, folks, not okay. She won.
I beat him at a game the other day too.
Don't
so.
tell people that. I'm going to erase that part out of the show. This is not getting in the show. All right. Now here's the funny thing. You guessed on Benjamin Watson, and I remember saying I didn't think he would win, but he won.
That's
You
right.
guessed. Do you remember why? Do you know the 2 that I got right? One was AD, the Bible continues, like you did. You know, I totally that was a no-brainer. I knew that was going to happen.
Oh.
The other
Yes.
one that I got
The female artist
was
of the year.
female artist
Yeah.
of the year because I picked Francesca Battistelli because I said, and I quote, I like her name. So everything else where I thought I knew what I was talking about, I had no clue. But because I liked her name, that was it, and that's what I got. So
What was funny too is that one of her songs that I think was for Song of the Year is called "He Knows My Name."
that's true. That's true. Hey, you know what?
So
Praise the
Francesca,
Lord.
he knows your name.
Praise the Lord. That's right, sister.
And you won.
Amen. Amen. That's right. I like that. I like that. Our last segment of the day is the Funhouse. And the Funhouse is where we focus on marriage and families. So, Sharon, what's in the Funhouse for us today?
There were several stories and moments reflecting marriage and family sprinkled throughout the show. Rock, what moments stood out to you?
Well, I would say there's a couple things. Kirk Cameron started off, well, not started off, but there was one moment in between where him and Elizabeth Hasselbeck, Elizabeth Taylor, sorry guys, where him and Elizabeth Hasselbeck were talking about, one time his wife was on the plane and he wasn't there, so I guess that really wasn't his story as much as his wife's story. Elizabeth had a funny one where she talked about how she was telling one of her kids, like, I'm sorry, I've never been a mom of a 5-year-old before. And the 5-year-old was like, wait, what? What do you mean you don't know what you're doing? That was kind of funny. But I think the thing that stood out to me the most was Lisa Turkhurst's speech. Now, not her acceptance speech, but there was another time where she was coming up to introduce something and she just gave a testimony. And like you mentioned earlier in the show, giving a testimony from the heart is what she does. And it was talking about how she had adopted 2 sons from Africa and how they got over here with being in a choir. And what it was is
These were older. These weren't babies. They were
13 and 14
teenager,
at the time.
preteen. Yeah, so my jaw dropped just with that alone.
Yeah, and so when the story was a bunch of the boys were in the orphanage and were told to stand up and say what they were thankful for, but they didn't know what to say they were thankful for. So one boy just started singing praise songs. The next day, same thing happened, so the same boy and another boy stood up. This happened for 12 days straight till finally it was 12 boys up singing a praise song together. And long story short, 2 of those boys are the ones that she adopted and brought home to her family. And they, like you said, they were 13 and 14 at the time. And that was just a powerful story of how when people are in not having first world problems, but they still praise in the midst of what they're going through. Man, that was a powerful story. So just to be able to hear about her and her family and her sons now and what they're doing, that was the big marriage family moment for me in the show.
Yeah.
Sharon, what about you?
Well, I like to have fun. I'm not as serious as my husband here. So they had this, we mentioned it before, Not So Newlywed Game. And they had Stephen Curtis Chapman and his wife, Elizabeth Hasselbeck and her husband, and Kirk Cameron and his wife. So they were all up there. I'm sure you guys have seen these games before on game shows and stuff. So the women were out. They were asked 3 questions, had to answer, and then they had to go to the back. Men came out, asked 3 questions, had to answer, go to the back. Took a little long, but it was still a lot of fun, and it gave me a lot of laughs. One of the funny things was, I think it was Elizabeth Hasselbeck's husband got her a laminator, and that was like the worst gift ever
For Mother's Day or something like that. She asked for it.
She did ask for it, but he still apparently apologizes for it to this day.
Fellas, even if she asked for it, if it's stupid, don't do it.
Wise man.
I'm just saying.
And then somebody else's husband got them a toilet seat warmer or
That was
something.
definitely Kirk Cameron.
Yeah,
That was definitely Kirk Cameron. That was growing pains, folks. Growing pains right there.
That was really funny. But one thing on a more serious note, they asked the question. They asked the men the question of, God forbid, if your wife died, what celebrity would you go out on just one date for?
Right.
And my thought was, what kind of question is that? Like
Yeah, that was-
on national television,
On
you're
a Christian show. What is
asking
he gonna
about
say?
if your spouse dies. Like that's
Yeah.
not something anybody wants to talk about.
Right.
But every single one of them said nobody.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And when the women came out, that was their answer for what their husbands would have said. So that was pretty neat on a more serious note. But overall, that was a lot of fun.
And that's real talk too. That's
Yeah.
real talk. I mean, like, I feel the same way.
Yeah. I think it's...
Yeah.
So, that was probably it. And I love stories. I love people's stories. So when Kirk Cameron was telling his bad dad stories and, Elizabeth was saying her stories, that type of stuff really gets me because it makes me feel like I'm not so crazy with my kids. And I feel the same way as her when she said that. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never raised a 5-year-old girl before, or a 7-year-old, or, whatever else.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way. And it's funny because I probably have said that before and my kids just look at me like, what? What do you mean you don't know that? And I'm like, I'm still a kid.
Right.
So we want to thank you for joining us on this episode of NaU Media Circus. And we want to hear from you. So comment below, like, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, if you have any topics you want us to discuss, let us know. And we're happy to do it.
Yeah, so email us at naumediacircus@gmail.com. And as Sharon said, don't forget to click like and subscribe. So we'll see you next time. God bless. And remember, there's power in the name of Jesus. Bye, everyone.
See ya.